the Gospel of Matthew, you have these constant insertions that are capitalizing on details for his audience to make sure that they know this guy Jesus is this person who is the person you're waiting for. He's fulfilling the Davidic reign. He's the prophet like Moses that's predicted back in the Torah, and he's accomplishing these things.
Is this what you mean when you say the Bible is written for you but not to you?
I like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because it has a different audience, right? And so understanding the context helps you. That's why the like German rationalists in the 18th and 19th centuries they did the wrong thing. They said, this is how we would write, therefore. And they didn't look back because there's like linguistic and cultural levels to it.
Yeah.
Right? So you could just translate the text directly, but it's context that's going to tell you the difference between a butt dial and a booty call. Even though they might be the same words in Greek or Hebrew, right?
Yes.
But you could read that and you could be completely misled.
A butt dial and a booty call. Completely different things. Yeah, so there's versions of that in the ancient literature.
Oh, yeah, totally. And this is with everything.
Some guy is just guessing.
In terms of like today.
Interpretation. Yeah.
Well, you study the ancient culture. So fortunately, we have like the ability to look at things and understand idioms.
Yeah.
And people talk about stuff. And that gives you a frame of reference.
Like, I'm sure they're using slang.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All the time.
Apparently, there's all these issues with like biblical translations as they're trying to translate it in like the 20th century to all these different cultures. And when they're putting in their native tongue, like there's one specific that I remember. I did this field trip to Wycliffe, and it's a Bible translator in Florida. Have you heard of it? I don't know.
Yeah.
And one of the things in like this one specific tribal culture in Africa, there's this idea of Jesus knocking on the heart. But in that culture, thieves knock. And so they're like, okay, we can't make it knocking because then they're going to think Jesus is a thief.
Yeah.
And so what they did is like they would cough or something like that. They would like clear their throat to indicate that there was someone on the other side of their hut. And so they had to translate it to Jesus coughs at the door of the heart or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And that when you're translating things, you have to be super specific to the culture that you're translating to.
So this is the difference between what's called a formal equivalence translation and a dynamic equivalent translation.
Yeah, this is a dynamic equivalent translation.
Yeah, so dynamic is like the thought for thought idea, right? So in the Gospel of Luke, in the Greek, there's this line where Jesus says, let these words sink into your ears. Right? That's exactly what Jesus says. Let these words sink into your ears. So if you have a dynamic equivalence like the New International Version of the Bible in English, they're going to say, listen carefully to what I'm about to say. Because that's what that means. But that's not what Jesus said, right? So whereas the New American Standard Bible, the NASB, is more of a formal equivalence, they're literally going to say, let these words sink into your ears, because that's the words that Jesus spoke. So it's the question of because people always ask me, like, what's the best translation?
Yeah.
And I don't know the answer to that. Like, the best Bible is the one you're going to read. So just figure out the one that you're going to read and then read it.
New International Version, baby.
There you go. So, like, let these words sink into your ears. And this gets tricky because you have turns of phrase. So one of the most quoted verses in the Bible is a version of Exodus 34:6. Where Moses goes up on Mount Sinai and God says that he is a gracious God, compassionate, steadfast and abounding love, and the Hebrew says long of nose. And you're like, what? Long of nose? Well, it's a Hebrew idiom meaning slow to anger.
Are they?
Yeah. That's what that means. So
how do we know that that's what he meant?
So
what else does it mean?
So Hebrew is a Semitic language. We have other Semitic languages. Get out of here. This guy.
Okay.
So here's why I use that illustration. Even the most formal equivalent.
Okay, how would you say someone just got a long nose back in the day? How would they say that? Probably the same way.
Well,
how do you know it wasn't just a descriptor?
A descriptor?
Yeah.
Because why would you describe God as long of nose? So we have other examples within other Semitic languages and portrayals of it.
I got a fucking idea too. Like, why wouldn't you? You know, like,
yeah. But this is why
Jesus had the golden hair. But they probably were describing the way his hair looked.
That was good.
This is just God. Oh, you mean
Jesus is God.
Long.
In my religion, Jesus is God. I don't know about you.
Yeah. We're on the same page.
Oh, we are. Okay. Okay.
But I use that example to say, like, even the most formal equivalent isn't going to translate like that because it doesn't make any sense.
Right. So, but long of nose, you think that they were just using a common.
It's an idiom.
It's an idiom.
Yeah.
This guy's an idiom, dude.
It's not like an insane.
No. But so Hebrew is a
Like
Semitic language.
if like a Chinese god was described as like small of eye, I don't think it would be like. I don't think it would be an idiom, right?
No, it's an idiom for good at math.
Like one could say that, or you could be like, oh, this might have been a descriptor.
I just picked up on why you guys are laughing.
3 days later.
I'm slow. Yeah.
No, he's on Jesus time.
That's right. Yeah.
And he's back.
3 days and 3 nights.
He's risen.
We just resurrected his sense of humor.
I like it.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Like maybe it was just a description. Like,
But if everyone's got big noses, then it wouldn't be a description. You know what I mean?
I mean,
If everyone's got big noses,
Not
then
everyone.
But if you're God, you want to have the big.
Who are you saying has a big nose?
that's what Italians or something.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Jews.
Yes.
Yeah. So wouldn't the Jewish God also have that?
Well, so this is an idiom that we find in other Semitic languages. So like Akkadian and Aramaic, and like so this is the language found.
Languages that are in the region.
Yeah.
Where the Jews live. You're not seeing the parallel here. You're a historian. You got to know about this.
Well,
Yeah, understand the
trying to
context.
make-
You gotta understand the context,
know
dude.
who he's speaking to. He's saying he's one of y'all.
I mean, maybe. Contextually, no. Listen, leave it up to the historians.
Okay. Okay.
Comedically, yes.
Comedically, yes. Wait.
Just because Ari Shafir looks like that today doesn't necessarily mean
Okay.
Ari Shafir.
Yes. So
First
you need the
century
proper
BC look like that.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I get you.
We need to get delving here, dude. We're getting on the line right now.
Yeah. We're getting close. Okay. All right. So you were saying. So
So dynamic formal equivalence translation stuff. That's how do we start this? You brought it.
you were talking about
the translation of.
You just said there are a bunch of long noses running out.
Get out of here.
Looking for Jesus.
I'm gonna kick you out of your own podcast.
Okay, sorry. I thought it was disrespectful.
So this issue runs up all the time.
I thought it was disrespectful.
It was
like the
disrespectful.
long noses are trying to crucify him. I'm like, you can't call
No, I didn't
Whoa,
say
you can't
that.
say that.
Leslie, you said something like that, and we're like, we got to put a stop to this.
Slow to anger people.
And then you were like, no, it's an idiom for the time. For their
Abounding in
very
steadfast
patient.
love and faithfulness.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
What language was that? Huh? Did you speak